Nashville is really unique in a lot of ways. I think this town is built on community in that you have to root for each other because it's so symbiotic. You either write with them, or you wrote on their record that they recorded, or your friend played bass on the record, or you have a buddy that toured with them, now tours with you. I mean, you can't not root for people here. And it creates just such a tight, dense fabric of friendship and camaraderie that I think is really unique to Nashville. And so it's this wonderful mix of giftedness with graciousness that creates a really unique experience. I had someone ask me at a college here in Nashville. They said, you know, what's the instrument you would learn if you're starting to play music and you want to write songs? And I said Pro Tools. Now I'd say Logic. But I do think there is something to knowing how to work in a system that is so valuable right now in 2020. And you can express things how you want to. And I think that as a songwriter and an artist is so important because you're not at the mercy of someone interpreting something for you. You can spend a bunch of time recording everything and going, okay, that's as close as I can get that to how I hear it in my head. And then you get other people to contribute or help. Where, you know, 10, 20 years ago when this wasn't as much of a thing, you know, having a little setup of your own was much more uncommon. You were at the mercy of the players because then, you know, I'd go into the studio and I'd be like, okay, I'm hearing this kind of, and thank God these guys and girls are so good, they can help with that. But you know, every now and then it was like, it just wouldn't work because I couldn't enunciate it in a way that I wanted, where now it's like, I can get it and really go, like, this is what I'm hearing. And they go, oh yeah, okay, cool, just let me play it better than you, which is really helpful, you know. In the songwriter world, I feel like, at least, you know, I've done this for about 20 years, finding a great title is the most exciting thing for me because it's like you can build everything else out pretty easily if you have a really good title, in my opinion, especially when you've done music for a long time, because titles are just so hard to come by, and especially really good ones. So when I remember thinking of Dreaming Electric Blue, and I thought, oh man, okay, I really may have like a cool title. So this was sort of where I landed the first time. This is my first kind of demo. And if you know the song, and I'll play it for you later, this is very different from how it lands. So this is kind of how it felt.
Never look good on you. Dreaming in electric blue. Never look good on you. Look good on you. Whoa.
If I was really honest, I'd have told you, like, I don't know, especially, you know, again, having the title that I really loved and thinking, like, is that music good enough? I think so. So there's a guy named Ed Cash who has produced most of my records with me. One of the many things I've valued about his expertise is he's a really good song guy. And what I mean by that is, like, he just has a really supernatural ability to sort of hear a song and go, you know what I think that's missing is the bridge is a little flat. This is what makes these relationships so valuable, is people that'll tell you the truth, especially in this industry, because I think it's easy to be like, dude, it's the best thing ever. But he was like, I just think you can write a better song to that title. And I remember like sitting there in the truck and just thinking like, dadgummit, because I knew he was right. Because I liked this, but it was not the right thing. And I'm thinking, there's just no way I'm gonna write. I've already written one song to it, how can you write? And I was just so like, I knew he was right, but I was also really bummed. So I'd scrapped this and I thought that's not it. And I thought maybe this song title is gonna die. I saw this one title of a song, I was like, oh, that's a cool title. And then I started singing a melody to that title. I hadn't listened to the song, I just saw the song title. And I was like, wait a second. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think that'll work with Dreaming Electric Blue. And so I pulled a guitar out and I was like, dreaming. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was just like I was dancing around the studio because it was this moment of like, oh my gosh, I have done it. I thought for sure that title had died. And then I had this loop that I'd found in Splice that I loved because I thought it was really retro, it was really cool. But I didn't know what to do with it. And so here's the loop. And you can hear that's 80 BPM. So that's 80 beats per minute, so it's pretty slow. So this is what it sounds like faster. Which I was like, that still may work. And so sure enough, this is kind of where it got built. This sounds really obvious, but I think you gotta love music. now more than ever, it's such an interesting career to do, and it's so much more challenging in a lot of ways than it used to be. There's gonna be so many times, and there have been for me and my friends, that you're thinking, what am I doing? You know, and you're in the middle of Topeka, Kansas at 2 a.m. and a tire's blown on your van, and you're standing there just like, but what gets you through that is going, but that show tomorrow night? Or, you know, like, just people don't like it. You put a song out and people are like, yeah, man, I just don't like it. It doesn't sound like you, or what? And you have to go, that's okay, because I want to do it again, I love doing it. I think the fun thing about where music is these days is there's never been a more exciting time to be a creative. Traditionally, for so many years, you were a singer-songwriter, you were a guitar player, you were a producer, whatever you were, and there was kind of a lane, and there was enough of real estate in that lane that you could just do that for 30 years and that was your career. But I think these days it's interesting because those lanes are a little more tricky and more congested, and so it's wise to have a few of them. And so what's really fun is I don't really know anybody that does music that's only creative in music. You know, they're usually creative people, and so they love to paint, they love to write, they love to take pictures, they are great with design, you know. So I think it's a more fun season for creatives than it's ever been, because it's okay now for me to pop up with a podcast and everybody's like, no, you stay over here. You know, everybody's like, great, we'll just take as much as you have to give. But I think for a long time that was tricky because people were kind of like, aren't you an artist? Why are you over here doing this, you know? Where I think now people are like, no, we're kind of used to seeing everybody everywhere. And I think that's really exciting. I think that makes for really exciting times ahead, you know? Two of the things to me that felt pretty integral to this song, the sort of disco vibes. Which I dug. And this, to me, I mean, the key, the synth, and this is the whole vibe. Dreaming in electric blue. Somebody's gonna love you. So that kind of gives you a feel for what I did here, which is I was really happy with, but was very limited. And this is basically a chance for me to like brag on my friends and how gifted these guys and girls that you bring this stuff into the studio. That electric part, for example, like, you know, I'm not sitting in here going, this is a final take and I'm getting it. I'm like, I just want to get it down. And then the keys, everything is just there. And then literally you bring it in and these guys who had played are like, oh yeah, I know what you're trying to do. I can make that sound a lot better. But here, so this is what happened in the studio. So this goes from me and my little like to like, ooh, professionals, you know. The cool thing about having the home studio like this is we ended up keeping a lot of my stuff that I played. In fact, I got in there and the guys were like, no, we don't need to replace the synths. We don't need to replace the ding, ding, ding. We replaced the guitar thing because Mark Trussell just played a lot tighter. But we kept a bunch of stuff that I had. But this little doo-doo-doo in the middle of the chorus right here. And that's the thing that's beautiful about when you get in the studio. You know, I can do as much as I can. I get as much as in my brain out. And then I bring it in and they go, oh, you know what would be cool is if you did this. Or what if you didn't do it on that and do it on this instead? And it makes the song totally different. And I love what they did on the bridge too. So that's the song, and what I love about that song is and I think about watching this, this doesn't happen a lot to me, so I'm not the guy that's like, if you just be like me, kids, it's gonna work out. Because that's such a rare moment, but I think one of the things I love about music is you can start with something that you feel like stuck in, or you like one part of it, but you don't like the rest. And as Ed told me, like, I think you got a better song. And then by the grace of God, I was able to think of, find some other combination, and it turns into a totally different, same title, totally different song. I think having really great monitors actually matters a lot more than I even knew early on. So much of creation is excitement. It's about, the joy it brings you from doing something. And so when you have really great speakers, it's just like a party, because you can turn up and listen to it and you're like, oh, this is what I wanted this to sound like. It's not just important for understanding what you're hearing and the quality of what you're recording and making sure it sounds good, but two, just as, you want to hear what you're working on in a way that sounds like it gets you pumped up, or just other music, because you're listening to other music that's getting you excited, hearing that and going like, man, I love, this is making me feel all the stuff. I'm gonna turn it up and it sounds great. I want to make something like that.